Hi, hello, this is Mrs. Poinsot. I'm here to give you some review for our final exam project. We're going to be doing light on geometric forms. So we're going to start off first with a value scale. Notice that your value scale worksheet has two areas that you're going to work on. The first area is doing flat values from black all the way through the grayscale to white using steps. The second value scale we're going to do is going to be a gradated value scale where you will have black to white but no steps. So first we're going to start off using a regular pencil with an eraser. Make sure you either have a good eraser or an extra eraser. We're going to use the side of the pencil, so it's very important to keep your pencil sharp. You may want to get a piece of paper towel. You can see here I've been using this one already. I folded it up to use as a blender. The thing that you want to be careful of is if you do blend on this one here, that you blend one box at a time and not across all the boxes. But it's not necessary if you don't want to blend. We're going to go ahead and get started on our first box. Use the side of your pencil and press down. It helps if you're working on top of maybe another couple of sheets of paper or a workbook that's not too thick, or a folder that's very flat. So you want to go ahead and get the whole box working right up to the corners. You can turn the paper when you need to, if you need to turn the paper to stay inside the box, because you want each box to be its own separate value. This should be black as you can get. So as black as your pencil will go, that's how dark you want this box to be. So once you've got that first box as black as you can, the next step is really a very slight change in value. Be very careful, because if you make your value change too abrupt, you won't be able to get enough change to go in the rest of the boxes. So if I leave this like this, there's a big jump here. I'm going to go ahead and turn my paper and go in a separate direction one more time over the top to get my second value. So this value scale should help you when you're doing your final exam project. You can kind of search out your values and say, I want to use this value for the shadow, I want to use this value for the core shadow, for the background, wherever you need to change values. So see how there's a very light step between the black box and the next darkest value. So we just keep going like that, box by box, trying never to make our steps too big. One thing that I want to remind you is we do not, absolutely never, blend black. If you want the black to stay black, you can't blend it, because if you do, it'll pick up the graphite. Okay, so there you can see I have 3 boxes in a row. If I decide I want to make and blend these a little tiny bit within the boxes, I can, although I'm not sure I would recommend it, because you might end up getting like smudging and smearing, but you can do it if you want to. All you do is take your paper towel that you've got, just a regular paper towel, fold it in half, make a paper airplane fold to get a point. Again, another paper airplane fold in so that you still keep your point. Then you're going to fold it in half this way, like that. And then you can use this to blend your values that are not black. But stay within the box very carefully. Okay, and that's how you do your blended values. So you can see that it lightens it up just a little tiny bit, because it's picking up some of the graphite, and the graphite is here. We're not pressing down very hard. You can also use this for your last box to get a little bit of dirt in that box. So when you want to create a very, very light value, and don't press down hard, remember, that's how I can get a very, very light value here, so that I don't worry about these last 3 steps. Should be really easy. So when you're done, you're going to have a value step scale like this. To do the bottom one then, what you notice here is that we're starting with black the same way here, and these values do correspond to each other, right? But there's no steps, there's no boxes. So there's a gradual change. Make sure your pencil is sharp, because if your pencil's not sharp, you'll put scratches into the paper. So say, for example, I kind of like scratch the paper with the part of my wood here. If I go to create a value over that, you can see the scratch mark that the wood left. So when your pencil's not sharp, it's easy to create those scratch marks, and then you're not going to be able to get a nice, smooth, gradated surface. So for this one, I suggest that you turn the paper sideways, and you're going to work from black down to light sideways. Notice that when I'm using the side of my pencil, my thumb's at the bottom, my finger's at the top. You want to get a nice large area of each of your values. So I'm going to start off with kind of a black area. And it's okay if you go a little bit outside of your box. If you want, you can kind of erase that out later. Okay, so I've got a nice dark area here. Now what I'm going to start doing is I'm going to let up on the pressure of my pencil, and notice that I'm working back and forth. So I'm not just going in one direction and I keep going. Sometimes I have to go back when I'm working. And I'm going to create a whole area of almost black, where it says very dark. So I'm not going to keep changing and changing real fast, right? Like I'm going to do this whole big area here of almost black. Right? So notice how the value now is changing. It's getting lighter. So now I've got this whole area of almost black, and notice I'm working back and forth, and then I'm going to go down to here and do my medium dark, and a whole area of medium dark. But all the time what I'm doing is letting off. I want to let off the pressure on my pencil as I'm moving, and I'm just kind of adding layers and layers so that it is a gradual change. And I'm getting a pretty smooth value. It's a tiny bit rough. You can kind of see a little bit the pencil marks. And this just takes a lot of practice, really, so that you get smooth transitions. And the reason why we're doing smooth transitions is because when we go to draw a curved shape, like a sphere, notice there are no lines, that there's a smooth transition from the highlight through the midtones, the light values, the midtones, the coarse shadows. I mean, this is all very kind of smooth looking. And this was not, there's no blending in here at all. There's no blending. It's just done with the side of the pencil. So now I'm going to have a medium light value here. Now if anything's on your desk or underneath, like you can see there's some eraser there, make sure you take that out, because it's going to make marks on your paper. And now I'm using less pressure. Now I'm going to go to the light value here. And again, it's not a change that happens fast. It's, you know, we're going from very dark to very light, but it's a very gradual change. Change is like happens over an area, little by little. And then down here, okay, so I'm down here on the edge of my paper now. And when you make value changes, it's a good idea to not make your marks in the same direction as the value changes happen, because when you do that, let's say I wanted to change values, you're going to notice, look what happens. See how I'm getting these kind of marks here? But if I go sideways to my perpendicular to my value change, sideways to the direction, you know, going up and down where my value is changing horizontally, that doesn't happen. So that's something good to remember when you're doing it on your paper as well. All right, and then I just let off the pressure lighter, lighter, lighter until I get to the very light. So if you wanted to blend this, if it looks a little rough to you and you want to blend it, be very careful. Whoops, sorry about So now you've got, at the end, you've got your steps, which you can use on flat forms such as rectangular prisms and cubes, pyramids, things like that have flat sides. This is the kind of value you would use there. But when you're working on a curved form, you need to know how to do grade added value. So that's why this is our review for grade added value. We're going to be using it on our cylinders, okay, on our cylinders, on our cones, and of course on the sphere. Thanks and good luck.